What's up, subscribers? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about some updates for Senseonics stock trading under the ticker SENS. But first, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so that you get notifications about our future videos talking about the stock market and personal finances. And while you're down there, if you haven't already, be sure to check out the links in the description to get your free shares of stock from Webull whenever you open and fund your account, as well as $10 of free Bitcoin from Coinbase whenever you open your account and make your first $100 purchase of cryptocurrency. So grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage of choice, and let's jump into it. Since the last time that we talked about Senseonics here on my channel, the share price is down significantly, selling off as part of the broader tech sell-off. Although more recently, we have started to see some recovery. But it has been quite a volatile day in the stock market overall on news that the Fed is planning to increase bond rates. Currently, Senseonics is trading at around $3 in after-hours trading at the time that I'm recording this video. So what have we learned from Senseonics since the last time that we talked about them on my channel? On March 4th, investors were provided with Senseonics' fourth quarter results. And overall, the fourth quarter in 2020 went much like it did for many other companies because of the pandemic. It was a pretty rough year compared to how Senseonics has performed in the past. Senseonics saw its total revenue in the fourth quarter decrease to $3.9 million compared to $9 million the year prior. But its gross profit in the fourth quarter of 2020 increased to $2.6 million, with this increase in gross profit primarily fueled by Senseonics' ability to complete refill orders. And they were also able to decrease their expenses to $3 million for the fourth quarter. But ultimately, this resulted in a net loss of just under $102 million for the fourth quarter of 2020 compared to a net loss of $35 million in the fourth quarter of 2019, an increase by $66 million. And in the fourth quarter of 2020, they were able to decrease their research and development expenses by approximately $4.7 million. But overall, in my opinion, if they're going to have any type of expenses on their balance sheet, research and development is one area that I would be okay with. Because for reasons that we'll talk about a little bit later in this video, I think that those future products are what's going to help Senseonics to continue to grow and take market share for years to come. And for the full year of 2020, we saw a significant decrease in Senseonics' total revenue to $4.9 million and a net loss that grew to $175 million compared to $115 million in 2019. When taking a look at Senseonics' balance sheet, we can see that their total current assets outweighs their total liabilities, with more than enough cash on hand to cover their current liabilities. But overall, we can see that Senseonics has a ton of debt sitting on its balance sheet, in the sum of $177 million, far surpassing its total assets. Now obviously the pandemic greatly impacted Senseonics' revenue in 2020, as many hospitalizations, office visits, and other procedures were limited to those that were deemed to be medically necessary. This was something that I personally saw at my own hospital for many months, as we limited in-person evaluations and transitioned largely to telemedicine. So really, it doesn't come as a surprise that Senseonics saw a decrease in its revenue in 2020, as many diabetic patients were holding off on having the SENS continuous glucose monitor implanted because of the pandemic. So hopefully now, as we begin to emerge from the pandemic, Senseonics will be able to resume marketing their SENS monitor and see their revenue once again start to grow. In addition to the financials that we just discussed, Senseonics has recently entered into a new partnership with Ascensia, a company that already has approximately 10 million diabetic patients using its products worldwide. And Senseonics management is quite excited about this new partnership, hoping that this collaboration will help them to grow revenue, increase patient and provider awareness, and ultimately help the SENS monitor to grow its presence globally. And hopefully, in addition to that, in the not-too-distant future, the SENS 180-day continuous glucose monitor will finally receive FDA approval here in the United States. Because of the pandemic, the FDA has been backlogged with a ton of emergency medications, vaccines, and other medical equipment that they had to review. So now that we're starting to emerge from the pandemic, it's estimated that the FDA will begin reviewing the SENS 180-day monitor as early as April of this year, which means that Senseonics could greatly increase their commercialization and revenue of the monitor here in the United States as early as Q3 or Q4 of this year. And in addition to this, Senseonics is continuing to develop and study its implantable 365-day continuous glucose monitor, which could lead to increased adoption amongst both type 1 and type 2 diabetic patients, but that 365-day monitor is still in Senseonics' pipeline, so we likely won't see it enter the market for at least a couple years. But in my opinion, once this 365-day monitor is fully developed and receives FDA approval, this could be huge for Senseonics and completely change how diabetes is managed. Now, as investors, we're talking about years into the future here for Senseonics. But here in the short term, who knows what could happen with the company, especially with the ongoing market volatility because of the stimulus package and ongoing concerns regarding the Fed, interest rates, and inflation. But as I learn more about this company, the more that I think that in the long term, Senseonics has a ton of potential ahead of it and a lot of room to grow. They have excellent management under the leadership of President and CEO Tim Goodnow, who is well educated in the field. And as Senseonics continues to grow and gain FDA approval, I could definitely see them adding to their product line with things such as an insulin pump. I can't say that right now I'm actively buying shares of Senseonics, but the shares that I do own, I plan to hold for the long term because of all the potential and growth that I think that the company has ahead of them. But here in the short term, if shares of SENS were to pull back further, then I would definitely consider picking up a few more shares to add to my position. Overall, right now, analysts are giving Senseonics a strong buy rating, with price targets here in the short term of around $4 per share. But since I was able to invest in the company a little bit earlier, I would like to see the share price pull back, perhaps to around $2.50 or so per share, before considering adding to my position. Now, who knows if that's going to happen? But I think that one thing we all can agree on is that the market is extremely fragile right now, with huge swings up or down depending on what type of news comes from the media. So this is why I always think it's important to have additional capital sitting on the sideline waiting for buying opportunities. What are your thoughts about Senseonics? Are you invested in SENS? Are you thinking about investing in Senseonics? What do you think about their most recent quarterly report? And where do you think the share price is going over both the short term and the long term? Please be sure to comment down below and let me know what you think. And while you're down there, if there are any other stocks or topics that you would like me to talk about in a future video, please feel free to comment that down below as well. As a reminder, this video is for entertainment purposes only. I am not a certified financial planner. I'm a resident physician with an interest in personal finances and investing. Please make sure you're doing your own research before you make any financial decisions. And please be sure to smash that like button and click on the subscribe button for the YouTube algorithm and to help support my channel. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.